A very warm October welcome to this Sunday's game. I'm your host, Alan Moore, and we've been talking a lot about the Gaelic football and for ladies and men's. We haven't spoken about handball yet, but that is coming up. But we're going to speak about the small ball game, the original game, the thousands of years old game that unites the world, because when people watch it for the first time, they go, what the hell are these crazy people doing? Because especially me showing people in Russia how it's played, and you think, wait, hold on. You have no shoulder pads. You have no, of course we don't, because we're warriors. We're born that way. That's how Cuchulainn played, and his wife played. That's the way we do. That's the way the Irish roll. So we're going to speak with that with our two code officers, our Camogie officer and our hurling officer. I'm delighted to have them back onto this Sunday's game because we had a huge amount of success this summer and last year. A very warm welcome to Meadhbh, Bolger and Desmond, Treacy. Meadhbh, I'm going to start off with you right away. Now, of course, you're on the road in Ireland. You're all four wheels on the ground, so things are good. First of all, you can tell us what's the weather like there, because it looks damn sunny. And then tell us about the success of the World Games.
Hi, thanks for having me on again. I'm on the road from Laois to Dublin, and the weather it's mixed today. It was lovely and sunny earlier. Now it's kind of overcast, but it was nice to get some sun. For Camogie and the World Games, we had two European teams. We had an open team, so that's Irish born. They play it's players who were born in Ireland. And then we had an international team as well. I think overall the week was a massive success. We had great fun. We were all staying in the student accommodation in Derry together. And we were going into Derry City most nights and having the crack, and then during the day playing our games. So there was great fun and fun had with the other teams as well, with people from all over the world. Open team reached the cup semi-finals, which was brilliant. There were 6 teams in the competition, and we came fourth. So we ended up playing Australasia, who had a brilliant, fantastic Camogie team, and we got beaten quite well in the semi-final against them. But we did much better than we expected. We beat the Asian team and we beat one of the British teams. So we were very happy overall. Then the international team got to the Shield semi-finals and they lost out narrowly to Germany in that. So that was a bit disappointing, but they played brilliantly all week. So it was a great week.
As you said, the international team, of course, I was there with the international team. They really put a great shift in, because these are girls, same as most of our teams, kind of met. Literally, most of them had never seen each other, never met each other. They never played together. The first game was against Germany, and I know Des, we were speaking this one. The German girls playing for the European team had been rejected from the German team, so she had a point to prove. So she actually played phenomenally well the whole tour to show that she was really worth her place. And it was great to see the development as well. You could see the growth of the players themselves. That's men and women, and that's talking about the Irish food, but that's a different thing. But the growth in the confidence and the skill level, and in Irish we say the graw for the game as well. Des, you had the same thing with hurling, because there was a lot of hurling, and not just Irishmen.
Oh no, from the Germans and the French, they really brought brilliant teams to the World Games, and it was unbelievable to see the passion of them going up against the rest of the world, and the Chris and in the German camp, and then all the different lads in the French camp as well. It was brilliant to see. It was just such a buzz, to see natives really taking on hurling, and being as good as anybody else in the international section. I thought was fantastic. And there was one interview with the German lads, and it was they were quoting getting inspired by Limerick and and winning their matches, and it was going, this is just so cool, it's just it was great. And
And of course, the Benelux team as well, because you were playing there as well. And both of you were players, so that's the whole thing. You not only were organising, not only involved in the coaching and being the TLOs, the team liaison officers, You're both playing as well. I want to ask you this, of course. How, because it's a tough job just playing, let alone coaching, managing, organising, getting people there, getting people to hospital and back out of hospital. Like, I mean, it's a huge task.
Yeah. It's well, I have to say a lot of credit goes to Tony Boss for kind of being, the backup to allow me to be able to play and work with the lads as well, like, because there was a lot of mornings where I went with the team and I didn't go to the TLO meetings, but Tony was there and kind of filled me in with, like, what was said in that meeting, very early in the morning when we were getting to the place with the buses. It's not, I wouldn't recommend it all the time to be player manager, because it was great because on the Benelux team in particular, we delegated out the kind of management role to three of us, instead of like just being all landed, because you just can't do it with one person. So there was lads that were taking care of, like, selections. Well, we're all three of us taking care of selections, but there was one kind of trainer, like, warm ups and all this. So we kind of delegate out the role, in a way. So it wasn't just all landed on me for on the week, like, so that was kind of cool.
Maeve, I mean, your team, I mean, the Australasia team were absolutely phenomenal, but all through the week, it really looked like you were going to, if you didn't meet them in the semi-final, you were going to get to a final, and you were playing great. But how did you manage, Maeve, balancing? Because I was alongside Des and I saw how tough it was for him. How tough was it for you as well? Because you had also to keep an eye on the European girls. It was, as well, as both of you did, but you were looking at what they're at as well. Maeve, that was you.
Sorry, I missed. I was looking at what.
Maeve, basically, how did you manage it? Both playing, coaching, organising, and then also keeping an eye on the European team.
Okay. Like Des said, Tony was a brilliant help. He was the manager over both of the European Camogie teams. So he went to the meetings in the morning, did all the kind of admin around it. So that was a brilliant help. And then we had Reece Armstrong, he coaches up in Derry, some of the Camogie teams, and he's involved in the sports at the university. So he was kind of the coach over the two Europe Camogie teams. And again, he was brilliant. He did all the warm-ups with us. I think, he really coached a lot, the international team, and brought their skills on a lot. So that was brilliant to see, and he was a good help. So I think it wasn't too bad. We're used to it in the European tournaments where you're kind of running the whole day and trying to play as well. So it was a bit actually less intense in the World Games because we only had 2 games each day.
On that, again, just from the World Games takeaway, and it's a disgrace. I've actually blanked the other assistant coach who came in with Reece as well, the young lady. I blanked her name right now. I went to say it and I forgot her name. Maeve, try to remember her name because
Shannon.
There you go.
Shannon. I should have mentioned her. Yeah, she was brilliant as well. Yeah.
On that, and I'll start with you, Maeve, because you finished last on this one. So, Maeve, one of the big things that we all know about, of course, is marching in the parade. That's a big one. It's always risky marching in a parade in Northern Ireland, but again, we can joke about that, and especially the behaviour of the Benelux teams. We were acting the maggot. But one of the big things we all know is the twinning. Maeve, tell us about who you twinned with and how did it go?
Now I'm after forgetting the name of the club. Can you remind me, Alan? It was one of the big clubs in Derry. Watty Graham's, yes. I think they're mostly probably known for their men's football. They reached the All-Ireland final. So yeah, we were with Watty Graham's. We went out there on I think it was the Tuesday evening, so the second day of the games. And we had a brilliant evening. Oh my God, they really were the best hosts. Like they organised buses. We got buses out. There was also one of the British Camogie teams with us. We had a walk around their clubhouse. Their mini leagues were out greeting us, and they made a little line that we had to run through, and they were cheering us. And then we met some of I think it was the under 14 Camogie team. Saw the men's footballers. We got a tour of their gym, and they have like great facilities out there. And then we went to their local village, and they had food, and we had they've got a great Shimsa involvement as well. So they had some of the girls were singing and acting. There was some Irish dancing, a bit of music. So yeah, it was really, really great. And so nice for, I think, especially the international girls who don't really, the scene, it's a different, bigger kind of scene than over in Europe for the GA. So it's nice to see.
Should add as well, congratulations to Wally Graham's. They won the Derry Senior Football Championship at the weekend.
Yeah,
so
I should be following them now.
Yeah, so Roisin, big shout out to you. Thank you so much from our hearts. You were brilliant. Des, same question to you.
Yeah, I'm terrible because I've totally blanked as well on the name for the club, but just the club name or the club were unbelievable when they brought us out. They put on a bus. They brought us out to the pitch. We had matches against both. They had the youth section training just beforehand, and then we played a match with them, and then they actually got the youth section in playing one big match against. Had a mixed match against at the end of their training, which was epic. It was just great fun altogether. The great thing about being able to play against them is because Schlockneil, which is a massive team, they didn't turn up for one of our first practice matches. So we were slagging them off, at the other club, kind of saying they couldn't go up against us because they were afraid of us or something So obviously we had to go and play with them to get our practice match in, So that was great crack. And then they brought us back to as well. They brought us after being at the club. They brought us up the road to the local pub, and they put on a full 4-course meal for us in the pub, and pints and the whole lot. And basically we stayed there till about 11, and we kind of gave ourselves a curfew to make sure that we were back in time. But, it could have went on longer if we didn't set a curfew. But it was great crack. It was brilliant crack with them, and we signed a hurl. I gave one of our goalkeepers hurls. There's plenty of room to sign all the team's name, and we presented it to the club chairman and secretary as well. So that was very cool. It was nice to kind of make a pairing there. So.
Now you have to remember, you have to try and go through your phone, find.
Yeah, I know.
But that's Maeve now question. Otherwise, we're disgraced. Maeve, I
know I'm disgraced. Yeah, totally.
In all fairness, Maeve knows the last second I grabbed them because I think the club was initially for Europe, couldn't host or something on, so we all kind of rolled in together and grabbed the British team with us as well. So it ended up meant to be 4 teams in one. But anyway, Maeve, I'll ask you. So Des, you check it. I'm going to ask you this question now. Maeve, what do you look back with most fondly in your year as Camogie officer in Europe? Where have you seen the growth? Where have you seen the development?
It was a great year for Camogie in Europe. I think it was the first year back, kind of the proper first year in a few years where we had the 5 tournaments and things after COVID. So there was, looking back at the numbers, we've never had as many Camogie clubs participate or GA clubs in Europe participate, and numbers for Camogie. So we had 16 clubs over the year participated in Camogie in 5 tournaments. And in the last tournament, in the finals, we had more than 70 Camogie players, which was, I think, the most we've ever had in a tournament. So really brilliant to see. The numbers still, I think, we still don't have enough numbers that there's, usually the clubs still have to merge. So there's 2 or 3 clubs kind of come together and make a 9-a-side team or a 7-a-side team for the tournaments. But I think it's on the up, and we've seen new teams come in like Stockholm Camogie, who are absolutely brilliant, and they have a very active Instagram. If anybody wants to follow them, it's brilliant. But they have now, they only started this year, and they've got 20 players out to training in Stockholm. They've got a great Michelle, who's absolutely brilliant in starting it up and leading them. And they've come to the last 2 tournaments now. And there's Hamburg Camogie, who have been for years and years, consistently. They're all Germans on the Hamburg Camogie team almost, and they've They came second overall in the year, which was so brilliant. Like they weren't winning every tournament or anything, but just by showing up, having the players, putting 100% effort in, they managed to get the points to come second overall. So that was really, great to see.
It's so brilliant. Let's just drop there for a moment. He's going to have to look for the name of the team. He'll be back in a minute. Don't worry. So, because again, it is one of those things we saw one of the Moscow Shamrocks players. Literally, the day before the game started on the Sunday evening, with the European players, handed her a hurl, and she just started to play. And she ended up, and you know this, by the end of the week, she said, "I love camogie." She came to play Gaelic football. And she played, she's a good player, very good player. But camogie just caught her and she just fell in love with the game. Before Des comes back in, I'll just ask you, what more, because it should be our last question, but we'll sort of tweak it up slightly. What more can we do as an organization in Europe to promote camogie, especially camogie? Because again, it's a terrific sport. It's not that difficult to just get the basics to play. It's not rocket science. It's a great skill. But what more can we do as an organization, Meadhbh?
Yeah, I think it's really given the priority. Football is, as everyone knows, football is much, much bigger than camogie and hurling in Europe. But even, like you say, hurling is bigger than camogie. I think we're targeting trying to get the football regions. Like there's a lot of football in France and Spain, so I think there's a lot of potential for camogie there. People who are playing Gaelic football already to take up, like you said, when people, and it's the same in our club in Belgium. We have girls who come down, and maybe at the beginning, if they're not Irish at the beginning, they try out Gaelic football, and then we really encourage them, and they come along to camogie. And once they learn the basics, they love it. And I think as well, it's nice that the camogie kind of has more, or it's less competitive, I would say, than it's a very social side overall in Europe. So that kind of draws players as well. So focusing on the clubs that already have football established and trying to get them. And it just takes one person, like you saw, Michelle, who I mentioned in Stockholm. It just takes one person who's willing to kind of drive behind it and encourage people and make it fun and make it something that people can be part of. And now they have 20 new players in Europe. So sometimes it just takes one person to drive it forward.
And that is exactly it. It just takes one person, and you're dead right. I know you pulled in for a sup of petrol. I think it's in Texaco, so you see in the background. I'm very, very observant. But anyway, I'm missing home. Well, I'm not missing the petrol prices, that's for sure. But anyway, there's one of the things we were discussing is did you find out what the
St. Finbarrs. Yeah. And it was Pat Halls was our rep. I was going, I was talking to him for nearly every day for a week or 2 weeks. I was anyway, I'm totally, because the thing about St. Finbarrs is actually there's a couple of St. Finbarrs in Ireland, and I always get confused, it's not the Cork one. No, it's there is one up in Derry, so. So.
And the main one that I grew up with was Finbarrs in Dublin, down in Cabra.
Oh, see.
So they were great club, terrific club.
Yeah.
Des, on that, could you just 2 questions at once? Give us your overview of your year as hurling officer, the successes that have been there, that they have been visible. So tell us just the successes, and also what to improve, how we can improve then the visibility of hurling and the uptake in the game in Europe.
Positives is we got 5 tournaments out, and we had a World Games, and we had the 15s as well, went really well. Except for we should have it on a separate weekend, the 15s. But that's aside, all things that can be solved and will be solved, which is grand. Communication is constant, to improve that. We have a WhatsApp group that we kind of, all the reps kind of work together on, and just kind of, it's hard to know how many people are talking with each other, but just to get people talking with each other, and that's an important thing to do. Have teams co-coordinating to make up, to have matches between each other, which is actually kind of happened, funny enough, like even in the last couple of days, like there was a Benelux group, and the Nijmegen guys just like, do you want to do a small tournament, a mini tournament? And they were all talking to each other, and that might be happening. So, but like that was one thing I thought was pretty successful, is that we've got more people on that group, kind of reps from different clubs, with emerging from Spain and Portugal, and then there's more Finnish reps now, and there used to be only one, now there's 3. And in Portugal, there's one from Lisbon, and then there's 2 lads from Spain now, and they're talking about having an Andalusian, amalgamation maybe coming to championship next year. So that's kind of cool. That wasn't even on the cards last year. So yeah, and everywhere is kind of improving. Like even I remember from the last the last 2 years, just to see the way the French have improved so much. I just think it's amazing. Like, the standard in the championship, and yeah, a lot of teams that were improving before are still even getting better now. We had Amsterdam playing in the 15s just there at the weekend, and they just were nipped by it. But they're you can see that we're going to do that, in the next 2 years at least. I can see it happening, so yeah.
It is positive. There's a lot of positives we've seen again, as you mentioned. We've seen also in the Czech Republic, for example, you've got the 2 areas playing each other as well, 2 teams playing each other, which is terrific to see as well, not the local one.
Something's going. I don't know if my internet.
Maeve's camera has frozen. No, she's back. Okay, you're looking very stern for a moment. Very stern, Maeve. You were doing your best, Greta Thunberg, for that moment. You were just really, angry, So I'm joking, of course. Now it's okay. Before we go away, Des, I'll just ask you that in terms of the hurling in general, okay, in Europe. Two small questions: how can we raise the Irish standard, and how can we raise the non-Irish born standard?
Yeah, we need more challenge matches. Basically, we need more matches, like the 15s and the 9s. Well, in the championship or in the tournaments, we have like 3 different cups, and there's kind of like if we don't want a situation where really good teams, or fully Irish, made up teams are just like going against non-developed teams. I hate the idea of Irish born and non-Irish born. I don't think it's really in the next couple of years not going to be really applicable, because we have good enough players now that have gone through a European section and brought up to a certain level, and so it's a youth section of a certain level that we want to maybe just change the wording on that. But there's a couple of internationals I can see that are as good as middle ground Irish people, which I think is Irish from a youth section up. So it's to say that international and Irish born are in different. The international is definitely improved to a certain degree, in my opinion. So that's something. Yeah, I've confused myself there, but
no, it's grand. It was perfect. That's perfect. Maeve, it's a question for you. And again, I want to say thank you again both for your time. Des, you're just in from work. Maeve, you're on the road up to Dublin. So again, massively appreciated. We all give our time, and it is our passion. And this is how we can get in contact with people and tell them what we're doing and show them what it is and how they can get involved as well. Maeve, the final question will lead to you, and I asked it to Des, but I'll put it with a slight twist for you. We've seen that the non-Irish born players really take to the game, really play well in the game. I'm just thinking of Maud, the Paris Gaels player, with her free taking and her ability and her I would say kind of, well, I see, it sounds like really kind of like, if I'm being snotty towards the French, her joie de vivre and her panache, but the way she would play camogie has that kind of extra style to it. What can we do to encourage more women outside of the Irish community into the game? What can we do? What 2 steps would you say we can take?
Yeah, I think it's really at the club and local level. I haven't
haven't thought so much about what I guess like in general promoting the game and doing a lot of work with media and social media really helps. Like often we work, say in Belgium, we'll get some articles or work with local journalists to come down, and that highlights the game in the local newspapers. Or work at the university for students. Or there's a lot of, say, looking at the sports, maybe girls who used to play other sports similar like hockey or soccer that women would play, and encouraging them to come in and try camogie if they don't want to go back to like more competitive hockey or soccer or basketball or whatever. So I think we do a night in Belgium where we ask people to bring a friend along, and a non-Irish friend usually. So that's been really successful. Kind of a couple of times at the beginning of the year, usually the season, we'll say bring a friend from work or a friend from wherever, and often they do stay. So that's been successful. And can I also actually, sorry, as a last shout out, I forgot to mention at the beginning, the German camogie team in the World Games. I said there was 2 Europe camogie teams, but if we're talking about Europe as a region, there was also the German camogie team, who did brilliantly. And like I said, they beat the Europe international camogie team in the Shield semis.
Yeah, it was 1-1 between the two teams. Of course, the European team lost when it mattered most, but it's like kind of like 2 teams enter the field. The Germans come away winning narrowly, but that's what they did. On that note, I say thank you both very, very much. And again, congratulations on the super work done before, during, and of course after the World Games. You should both be proud of it, because a lot of people, they're so caught up in getting there, they're so caught up in the moment of it that they never have time to actually reflect on it. So you should look back with huge pride, because the performance of the European teams are a testament to both your work through the year. Thank you very much for making the small ball game an awful lot better in Europe than it was before you came into office. It was already improving, but you have driven it on even further. So thank you both very, very much.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks.
Okay. And on that note, you guys just stay with me for a moment, and I'll say a very good evening, good night, or good morning to wherever you are watching this right now. Thank you very much for your time, of course. We'll be back with some more very, very soon. We're going to cover handball as well, the other small ball game, and do a bit of a dive into that as well, because that, of course, is growing very, very well. And again, we'll look at the initiatives, how we can grow it for our own clubs and how for your clubs as well. So until next time, and all we're saying, take care of yourselves and each other.